So welcome to the Cinebums. We're just talking about John's new show, Turn That Dial, which is the newest achievement that the Cinebums have accomplished, and the newest, just our newest product, our newest brand.
Fresh product on the market.
Yeah. I don't know. And John, I don't know if you want to just for people who did watch it, just give some direction on what you were thinking and what you're going for with this with the new show.
Well, I was thinking a lot about the roots of the episode, or not the episode, of the podcast. And and even so it started out as like more of like a classic film podcast, just because I was like in that, like, fresh out of college, took a Alfred Hitchcock class, like in that mindset. And then even Luke and I, for those of you who, I don't know, the big Cinebums heads, you might know, even back in like the early days, we did do more like classic.
Yeah.
Like we do
We
like a
tried
Howard Hawks
we tried
episode or
to
something.
carry that forward,
Yeah. And then we quickly, I think,
I think
just
once we found out we didn't have to do that, we
yeah.
never did it again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I was just thinking randomly just about because I just go through these phases where I just will watch old TV shows. And we were just talking about Pluto TV on like a recent episode.
Mhm.
And on Pluto, there's so many just of those like old TV channels. And I'll watch like the old Dean Martin roasts on there, or Mary Tyler Moore show, which was the first
Yeah.
episode that you can check out.
Right.
And I've talked a lot about the Twilight Zone too, which is one of my favorite shows. So
Fuck yeah.
yeah. So and I did an episode of that in the very early days of the podcast. So yeah, I was kind of thinking about going back to that, and just also like I do graphic design, during my day job, and something that always like gives me inspiration doing that is watching like old movies and old TV where they have like interesting title cards and
Yeah.
just design in general. Just there's like
Vintage
that
title
60s 70s era, like the art deco, that I am
Mhm.
definitely drawn to. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm hoping to do another Twilight Zone episode soon, and I might have a guest on for that one, to be determined. But yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking for the next episode.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. I love Twilight Zone. That was such like a comfort TV show for me. And it was
Same.
so like creative. Like the fact that they could be so creative with the TV show, and like it didn't have to be like linear or something. It's just it was so easy to put on, and just like zone out
Yeah,
to.
right. Yeah, you could jump into any episode and it's like a full story just in one. And yeah, and even like these are from like the 50s, but I just feel like they still hold up so well today. Yeah. And I've watched some of the I don't know if, Jack, if you've seen any of like the new Twilight Zone episodes, but they're just like missing something.
Yeah,
And
no, I
it's
haven't. I
yeah.
haven't. The one where it's like I think it's Jordan Peele that
Yeah, he was like an executive producer, I think.
yeah.
Which I think was like their way to get people to watch, to be like interested in watching.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're just like they're kind of mediocre. They're just something like missing with the stories. I think they're just trying too hard to be like profound or something. But yeah, nothing will beat the original Twilight Zone for sure.
Yeah, well, I just want to brush on that because, it's kind of us first time on air announcing that we're trying to expand content a little bit. And, John is the first one to land on the moon, if you will. And so, he's getting the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And John, you're also bringing your your vibe and your speed and your cups of tea with your wife, and bringing us John is bringing you into his lovely comforting home, so that
Yeah.
we can all watch. If you don't have one like John's, you can watch his and be like, what, and dream of having the same uh lovely comforting home.
Yeah. Just transport yourself to this comfort
Yeah.
zone. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
nice,
The water's
relaxing
just fine. Yeah.
positivity. Yeah. Yeah. So everyone check out what more is coming out from Turn That Dial.
Yeah. Yeah. And Luke, you have something coming up too? Or is that under wraps still?
No, it's no, sure we can. It's not under wraps. I'm also gonna do my own show coming up soon. I actually like it's a show I wrote. There's a little pre-production involved, so
Oh.
now like and then I have to shoot it myself and everything. But it's gonna be called Diaries of a Cinebum, and it's going to delve more into I think like John and I are in ways like tackling each in our own way, like tackling what the roots of the podcast is. While John, you're going back to more like classic things and just doing something that's we untouched but that we haven't done. I'm trying to like get to the I don't know, I guess what the brand is like means to me, and it's basically about being a comfort zone for people who have just sat around and watched movies. So that's what I'm going to try to focus on. I'm going to try to focus on that theme and my experiences of doing a lot of that. So yeah, now's a good time to introduce our guest. It's my good friend Jak Zall. He lives out in LA, and he knows, and one of the reasons why he's on here, along with most of the people we have on here, is he knows a good amount about, he watches a lot of movies, so that he has, his word here is gold. So thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. We've done quite a bit of like sitting around watching movies together, so
Right. Yeah.
kind of makes sense that I'd end up on here.
Yeah.
To do it, and it's definitely like a comfort listen when I'm driving my car. So you guys provide me with a lot of entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked our last guest this. I don't know if you want to like go into maybe I don't know how you got started into like really being into movies.
Yeah,
You got started to where you are now.
yeah. Man, my mom was really into movies, and so that's kind of like how I got into it. She was like huge into movies. She was huge into like Oscars too. So like every movie that would like be like nominated that year, she would like watch them and like
He was an
make us
awards
like,
follower.
yeah, award follower for sure. And so that really started my like love for movies. I don't know, I kind of got more like thinking critically about movies in like college probably. And like realizing like, oh, I like certain movies, I don't like certain movies. And then just since then it's just been down a fucking rabbit hole, man, and I can't stop. Like it's sometimes I think it's a problem, but I enjoy it, you know. And yeah, I moved
Yeah.
out to Los Angeles when I was like during the middle of COVID and shit. And that's how we met, Luke. And it's a fucking wild time. But yeah, we're out here now. We're grinding away.
Yeah, and really moving out here because straight up being so into movies, like like literally, otherwise I don't see much of a reason other than that to move out
Yeah.
here, but other than the weather maybe and the hiking advantages.
Yeah.
um
I don't know. We were like, I was talking to John before the show, and it's like, man, if I could live in Northern California, I totally would. Because I love the weather so much more up there. And here
yeah,
it's like really painful, but it's like you said, the love of movies like is keeping me
no, it
here.
like keep you here. Yeah, actually, if you're ever wondering, like I was in Lake Tahoe, and that's most northern Cal I've been since I got out here, and I was like all the trees and the cool weather. I was like, this is fantastic. But also, I was at Universal, Studios last week, and there's like, if you've ever been, there's this like one viewpoint where it kind of just shows you like all the studios that are around, like Disney, Warner's, and then
Yeah.
Universal, and then I'll be there, and I'll be like just so nerding out, I'm like, this is where it all happens. This is
Yeah.
why I'm here. So cool. Look at these big brown buildings, but these big brown buildings, have so much amazing history that like has uh, you know, captured my mind like crazy.
But yeah, no, it definitely is cool, like being around here and being around like actual history of like movies and stuff, and like all
Yeah.
like the studios and like just
Yeah. To say you
good.
live in movie town, I mean,
Yeah,
so when you think of it that way, you're like, all right, things couldn't be better,
yeah. I like being around like the fact that I couldn't see Parasite in 2019 for like ever, dude, because it was not playing
Yeah,
around. And
right.
I
You
can
were
see
in
any movie I
isolated
want.
school in like, where was it, Oregon or?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be why.
yeah. So it's like at least I have access to like movies and people talk about movies and stuff. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I find that really comforting in a way, and like a good way for me to like connect with people. I don't know. I always try to breach conversations when I don't know what to talk about with like, hey, what are your
yeah,
movies? What do you like
yeah,
watching? Like,
yeah.
do you like TV or something? So
Well, and it's funny how like networking out here, like to show value to someone, you literally say, I saw this last week and I think this, and this about it. And they're like, oh, okay. Like that's actually networking out here. It's like I watched like a show or a movie and I have this opinion on it. But on the other hand, I like what you said, because I think we talk about this on here all the time about sometimes I think it's a problem, but I don't know. I think we've had like a number of years where I feel like that was the underlying thing at the core of the show is like we used to just go on here with complete lack of structure and just kind of like how this is going now and literally list
I'm sorry.
every film that like we watched in the past 2 months and but it was fun and we found like we were able to find something to say about everything. Yeah, just like those were like we've yeah like I just feel like that's just yeah
Yeah.
that's what we were doing and you're just wondering like where is life outside of this and you don't know how to find it, I guess, especially maybe in the middle of the pandemic. You're young, you can't you have your depression and your agoraphobia is really kicking in, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was definitely like our book club for movies
Yeah,
during like COVID
yeah.
times. Yeah. But even you're talking about like being a problem. Friend of the show, Simon Sager. I don't remember if he said this on the show or to me one time, but he said he doesn't see like him watching like a bunch of movies in a day as like, it's
Mhm.
like taking over his life. He just sees it as research for
Mhm.
his like
Right,
career. So
right.
trying to just like reframe that.
And I
Yeah,
see it that way to a degree too. And I've like
Hmm.
I used to like definitely be like, oh, it was a productive day because I watched at least 2 films.
Yeah, you got those checked off your list.
when you watch a movie, do you feel satisfied after you watch a movie? Because like sometimes I feel like it really depends on the movie, but the most satisfying thing for me is like when I wake up the next day and I'm thinking about the movie I watched. Does that happen to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
If it carries over, I know what you mean. If it carries over,
Oh
for
man,
sure.
those movies, like it doesn't matter like how many like 10 20 bad movies I watch, like just that one movie like keeps me going, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah, yeah,
movie
yeah.
they can just like change the way you think about things and like the way you think about life just a little bit. I think is like
Hmm.
totally worth like the value of like doing this and talking about this, you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
they really are like pretty monumental in terms of like affecting people's lives, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
what you're going for as you're trying to watch each movie, but then sometimes you watch like for instance, I watched Fast X last weekend. And then then you don't get that and you just get filled with more. You're not getting what you're saying, you're getting filled with more of the world's like bullshit. It's like I could have just driven down the street and gotten what Fast X gave me.
Yeah, I don't want to sound snobbish because like there's definitely a place for like the fast X's of the world. Like I'm not gonna like be a total like cinema snob and be like, you can't watch this or you have to know these directors or whatever. Like, no, it's like if you enjoy it and it brings you like entertainment and comfort in your life, like I think movies are like super beneficial no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think
I'm
like
like, if you're wasting time, you're not wasting time. You're watching the movie, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an element of like you are either rattling them off because you want to say you watched it or you're trying to log it on Letterboxd, or there's also an element of like I'm looking for therapy in this and I feel like At this point in my life, as time became more like, as I had less and less time to do that, I had to like, whenever I watched them, I wanted to be like, okay, I want this to make me like feel better. I want this to, or like make me think about the world differently, or just be therapeutic for me. I think that's what I started to seek out more. All right.
Yeah.
Well, today is horror. It's horror month. It's October. So we have to do obligatory horror episodes. So we're doing something we've never done. We've done a bunch of horror scores and not a bunch of just scores and soundtracks before. Yeah. We've done a lot of them, but we've never done horror scores and soundtracks. So that's why today is different. Yeah. So this is untouched territory. So you're on here with us making history.
Hell yeah.
And we all talked before we were recording about how, well, a little bit about how we're not all super confident, I guess, about
right
this topic in general. But we're going for it either way.
Yeah, and maybe that means we'll appeal more to broader audience. I don't know. But I guess maybe sometimes I compare, I'm like, oh, I think, what would it happen if, like, say, Jake did this episode, horror scores and soundtracks, and what his list would be. And that's maybe what's like I'm comparing to always in my brain, and why I'm just like looking at my list constantly.
Yeah, Jake would put a lot of Frank Henenlotter and like really deep cuts.
Exactly, and I don't have that. I don't have the deep cuts. Because of course, what I first think of is Halloween or something like that, The Shining and Psycho, and I'm like, and then I immediately, like, my inner monologue goes like, God, that's terrible. That's so typical of you. That's like doing horror scores and soundtracks and picking, Star Wars by John Williams or something like that, which, we've never done before. But let's see how this goes. I feel like we'll surprise ourselves, and you're about to get listed 15 scores, not necessarily different scores and soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, might be some crossover.
There's usually crossover, which is okay. Don't worry if that happens, Jack. We'll guide you through that when that happens. Usually we end up just talking at the same time. Yeah, just remember the rules. It's scores and soundtracks. We're not just doing
and also soundtracks.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a score and a soundtrack.
It's always exciting when there's a score and a soundtrack in one.
I have one or two of those.
Oh boy. Wow. Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
So this is gonna, maybe I should have done a little more research here. What's the difference between a score and a soundtrack? Can you like break that down?
So it's like, okay, that's a good question, Jack, because some people are listening might also not know. What are these guys saying? Score and soundtrack, score or soundtrack. But score is like, it was original music composed by someone, for the film. When a soundtrack, it's like a curated group of existing music.
Like Scorsese's Rolling Stones songs and everything.
For instance, Scorsese's Rolling Stones songs, and then Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross in Gone Girl or The Social Network.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Johnny Greenwood and There Will Be Blood. And then, but Boogie Nights has the soundtrack. So, yeah.
So for my fifth pick, I chose The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, not the remake that just came out. So you're not confused. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like William Friedkin in like the 70s, his movies just slapped so hard. And he was like on his game. My God, dude. And he's like notoriously like an asshole. I think he like fired the guy that was like supposed to do the music. So
the original guy.
Yeah, like he would fire people left and right. But then eventually he ended with Jack Nietzsche, who did this score, I believe that. And man, this movie's like so good, just like being like a I don't know. When I think of like a haunted mansion or like a creepy house or something, like this is like the music that I think of is like just like it kind of like. scores and soundtracks kind of like lull you into like a false sense of security. Like that's what horror does really well, right? Is
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
kind of plays around with like your comfort level.
Mhm.
And this one definitely does it until like ramps up at the end. And then I don't know, just
Mhm.
I think like for me, it's like it's got to be on my top 5 for sure.
Nice. No,
Nice.
that's a good
Yeah.
one. I don't remember like specifically. The music doesn't stick in my head that much, but I do remember like each scene and like the shot of the rain, the guy standing in front of the house, and like the music being prevalent for sure, and like very much adding to everything that makes that movie one of the probably the scariest that there is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just listened to like the first 5 seconds just now and was like
To get some
immediately
context for this.
I was immediately brought back to. I actually watched The Exorcist for the first time last year. I'd never seen it before last year. But yeah, I was immediately transported back to watching this. And yeah, it's something about like it almost sounds like haunted like church music in a way too. That's
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
main
Go with
theme,
like that theme, the theme of it and stuff.
which church music can already sound like pretty scary.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think in the right context, like the kind of slow organ playing of church music is, yeah, it can be very terrifying or very funny. It depends what context you're in. Um,
Yeah. And I think this movie, like, man, we talk about like horror movies. Like, I'm such a scary cat, dude. I really am.
I
Like, there's
am as well. I am
nine
as
there.
well. Yeah. Like
And
when
I
you
remember we
mentioned,
watched Hereditary together, Luke, and
oh
like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, you sure you want to watch this? You're like, I have to watch this. And I was like, fuck. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
No,
but
I
this,
had to invite you guys over
yeah,
so you could watch it with me.
yeah. Oh God. Um, but this movie, like as a kid, this was like the movie that scared me so much. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, something about like the little girl and the devil and stuff. Like it just it stuck with me. And I heard someone say recently, like, oh yeah, you know, like by today's standards, The Exorcist wouldn't be that scary of a movie or something. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm still terrified of this movie. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
scared me to
That's
my core. And
Yeah, that's same for my mom actually. My mom, if you talks about how The Exorcist when she was a kid really got to her, um, and I think it's also she saw it young and grew up very Catholic, and that has a lot to do with it. Because if you think about it, like these movies and any movie where it's about like the devil, if you are like a serious Catholic, there's even a deeper level to how it's like scary for you. You know, you're literally like, you know, like the priest who's shaking and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. I grew up Catholic, so it was like as a kid, I was like, oh, this is like believable to me.
Yeah, I watched this one really stupid movie that came out this past year called it's with Russell Crowe and it's called The Pope's Exorcism. Pope's
Oh yeah.
Exorcist, one of those two.
Yeah.
And it's so bad and it's just Russell Crowe is this like Italian priest who does like exorcisms for like the Vatican or whatever, and so he's really deep in that. Like he's like the go-to, but he's almost they portray him almost like he's like an action hero as an exorcist, you know, and or like he's some like badass, and he's Russell Crowe, and he's got the stupid Italian accent. He's like
Oh,
drinking and stuff like that. Yeah, it is
he's like a
ridiculous.
badass priest,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, uh-huh.
Oh, there's just a new Exorcist. Isn't it like
Yeah,
David Gordon Green? That is that his name? Exorcist Believer or something like that.
Hmm.
I don't know if it is David Gordon Green. Let's see.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I
it
saw
definitely
these
is.
billboards in Los Angeles for the new Exorcist, and I was like, oh shit, they're re-releasing The Exorcist in theaters. All right, that's really cool. And then like,
Right, right.
no, it's just The Exorcist, and then the two's like in between the O, so like you can't really
Yeah.
tell it. And like, all right. But yeah, I have to see that eventually when I get the nerves.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Just like going off of David Gordon Green, it's like I'm looking and it looks like the same team that does the Halloweens is now doing The Exorcist. So
Okay, the first one I'm gonna go with is kind of a weird one, and I know, Luke, you were trying not to be too basic. I think I tried to mix it up too. I have some that might be a couple, maybe a little basic, but I try to get a couple different ones in there, and this one is like that too. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but my number 5 is Chopping Mall. The Chopping Mall soundtrack.
I don't know that one.
This is a pretty bad B movie that I remember seeing. And my roommates and I in college, we went through a phase where we watched a few like bad movies, like Troll 2 and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and then I think, and this was one of them too, Chopping Mall. And it's sort of like it's such an 80s movie because it takes place in this like mall, and it's teenagers having sex. It's a mall, and there's like a futuristic RoboCop type like security thing, like R2D2 type thing that just terrorizes these teenagers who are having sex in the mall.
This looks fantastic for like what you're saying, the context of what you were doing. You're just watching with your friends and having beers or something. Like, I want to do that right now. It looks great.
No, it's one of those like B horror movies that's fun to watch in a group because of how
B
bad
horror
it is.
Sci-fi thing. Yeah.
Dude. I'm gonna watch this. I'm definitely gonna watch this.
It's only an hour and 17 minutes too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's such an easy watch. And it's also it's so funny because there's like, oh yeah, I'll get to that. I should get into the soundtrack too. Of course, yeah.
But I guess what were we saying?
The only other thing about the plot is like I just feel like the stakes are really, I mean, the stakes are high because these like robots are like killing people, but it just seems like they're just like these little like Roomba things with eyes and stuff, and then they have like all these weapons and stuff for like mall security, and it just seems so like I don't know. I think we were talking like when we watched it, and I was just like trying to remember that like you could just like get a big blanket and like put it over the top of the thing, and it couldn't see, and then you'd be totally like there's just like so many ways they could have just easily gotten out of it, but yeah, that's not, you don't watch it to pick apart the plot holes in Chopping Mall. But anyway, the soundtrack.
That's actually a good episode. That we do. We do find the plot holes and we're going in deep.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Chopping Mall. Yeah.
Really analyze movies like this. But yeah, the soundtrack really stuck out to me because it's just this 80s like synth heavy electronic soundtrack, and it sounds honestly like any video game from like the Super Nintendo, like Sega Genesis era. Like it's basically like an old video game soundtrack, which I do really like those too. Anytime,
that's kind of a lot of people have nostalgia for that. Who are making music nowadays, I feel.
Totally, yeah. Like people love like Final Fantasy soundtracks. Always get talked about a lot still. And I do really like that sort of era of and even like new games nowadays too, like Stardew Valley, if anyone knows that one. That has a very like kind of retro-y electronic synth soundtrack to it. And so yeah, it's just throughout this whole movie, it's just that music, like this 80s 90s video game music. And there's a couple songs that are actually like really good. Like I would honestly just like I didn't think about this until I was like getting ready for this episode, but I would honestly listen to this while just like working on something or like doing the dishes, doing some chores. Like I do like enjoy the music.
There's always some dishes or some chores, you know.
Man, always dishes to be done, you know.
What weird horror soundtrack am I gonna put on during the laundry? Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
what's gonna help me do these chores right now? I'm
I
gonna
mean,
need
guys,
some
I got
chopping
some
mall.
dishes waiting for me after this episode, so I can't wait for all your recommendations of what I'm gonna listen to
Yeah,
while I do them. You know,
yeah,
it's what I get for cooking up a good meal, right?
yeah, you
For
deserve it.
myself, I pay for, that's how the price you pay.
Yeah, you've earned the chopping mall soundtrack. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
So
you
yeah,
just have to, when you listen to it, you have to picture a little Roomba killing everyone, though.
yeah, right. It is a little scary to think that there could be like a Roomba, a rogue Roomba coming out from around the corner to kill you. But yeah, that's
Do you know where Chopping Mall is?
actually I think I was actually looking this up. I think it's an LA mall. It's probably you guys probably know it.
There's a
Um,
lot of mall. There's a lot of options out here
Yeah.
for a
So
chopping
yeah,
mall to take place.
I gotta find this. Um,
Sounds like it'd be a valley chopping mall. Does the music, like, is it just like, does it go with the movie, or does it, like, on its own, or does it stand on its own as well?
I feel like it stands on its own.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Do you feel like at times it doesn't fit with the movies? Like it's too good for the movie a little bit?
Almost. Yeah, almost. Because it's just such a I mean, I think the soundtrack is at least a little bit like goofy in a sense
Mhm.
too. So you're not gonna take it too seriously, but it is funny, like uh there's just I mean, I'm gonna spoil a little bit, but it's not gonna make a difference. But there's a point where they're shooting these things with these like assault rifles and like military grade weapons that they're shooting these, killer vacuums with. And then like the music is getting like really crazy too, and it's so hard to like take that seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music gets really intense. But yeah, I still think it's like it just fits so perfectly because it's these like 80s mall vibes and
Hmm.
um yeah, and it is a little goofy too. Yeah.
I
All right,
love that.
I got the location. The Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
I
dude.
live I live right by there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like
On
I thought,
location.
Valley Shopping Mall. I don't know. I won't name drop any other random malls, but
Mhm.
um, but yeah. Wow, we
And it
couldn't
all
have
takes place there. So I'm guessing they just rented out the mall for like a night and then,
Yeah.
yeah,
another good
did it all.
episode theme. Where do all the mall movies take place? Where does Mallrats take place, for instance? Where does Dawn of the
Hmm?
Dead? All that stuff.
Man.
Yeah, so much curiosity. Um, uh,
Uh,
yeah, but both those movies, guys, couldn't be farther off in probably esteem.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, but
Choppy Mall, it's up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it goes up right with The Exorcist and the Halloweens and the Shinings, really. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Kubrick was in talks to make it
in
too, but
lines.
if it fell through, I think he had something else going on.
But he wanted
He
to
couldn't
take
do it.
8 years to make it, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, it was budget
they
stuff,
wanted
you
they
know.
wanted to make it in 4 years, and he said, I won't have enough time to like make the robots.
Mhm.
There's more of a story to be told here than in 4 years. Yeah.
All right, my first one is possibly known as the greatest John Carpenter film, Ennio Morricone's The Thing score. So obviously I thought about like doing Halloween for this episode, but again, didn't want to be too basic. Like Carpenter, of course, is such a renowned composer, but it's so cool how in like so maybe most well regarded film, it's not him. It's maybe the greatest film composer that there ever was, to some people. It's kind of what I said about The Exorcist, and it might be a recurring theme for more of mine, but I don't think the Thing score really is something that you just remember, really, and like, oh, I want to listen to that over and over again. But I think it's fairly effective, um, for just like what the thing is, and just in like telling the story, creating tension, just being very unique for what it is, not sounding, of course, not sounding like a spaghetti western or Once Upon a Time in America or something like that, and especially creating tension, and just being very. It's also a lot of times very kind of experimental and strange when it's for the like when the score comes in. I think for the scary, really scary moments when the thing is like evolving, and I think that is like what is needed here. This is another thing that I think will come back later when I talk about more of the score and soundtracks, but I think that when the thing is a bit of a slow burn at times, and I think that music is very like necessary, when the pacing is like that, especially in horror. So yeah, Ennio Morricone's The Thing.
I fucking love Carpenter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I kind of got into him like just recently because I was like, oh yeah, John Carpenter's a thing or whatever. But I watched They Live recently, and like,
yeah.
dude, he's so like, as a filmmaker, he's someone that I feel like you can give him like a really small budget and he'll make something like really good. Like I think there's like a talent to being able to like pick his crew, pick his talent, and like know how to execute things. And in the thing, like with the score, it's just so perfect because, like you're saying, like they're so isolated, and it
Yeah,
does really like
yeah,
slow down. A lot
yeah.
of the tension is like in what's like unsaid, but
Hmm.
like with
Yeah,
like the score kind of carrying you through that, it is like really, really
right.
effective. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
of that, but like, yeah,
Yeah, it's like think Alien too. I feel like Alien's a similar example where Alien very isolated, and the score carries you through, in a similar way. Yeah, and I just feel like maybe that's just more. I don't know. When I was trying to be less basic, it was like, oh, let me think about this in a different way, because I've never really thought about, until I try to think more outside the box. I don't think about the thing score ever. I think about the effects, but then I go back and I look for the score. I'm like, oh, it's Ennio Morricone, of course, and I think that's something I only like know after the credits roll. Always after the credits roll, I'm like, oh, this movie's so fucking good, and then it shows Ennio Morricone. Oh, I'm like, oh, damn, of course he did the score. Like that's
Mhm.
crazy too,
Yeah, I forget that he did the score for that, but that's so true. It's like those slow burn movies that you really need, like, I don't know, the score does a lot of like the heavy lifting and like the slower scenes in between
Yeah,
like the big
yeah,
shocks.
yeah.
So yeah.
There's like one part of the score where it's just so weird and experimental and sounds like a million different percussions playing to create this crazy tension thing, and I was listening to it last night on my drive home, as normal people do, and I was like, this is amazing, whatever this is, I don't know how he made this.
yeah. That's the thing for me is like being hard of hearing. Like I can tell when the note's low, I can tell when the note's high. I don't know what they're playing. So like get the note or whatever. So um kind of think about music differently, but like definitely like when something's being carried by music, I think I appreciate it a little more because I'm like, oh, I was
Mm.
thinking of it that way, and definitely see that in Thing. I definitely see that in Alien, and like, yeah, I think isolation movies are like fucking hard to pull off, dude. Really hard to pull off.
Yeah.
So I think you guys probably have this one on your list, I'm assuming, just because you've talked about it a lot, but feel free to jump in. But for my number four, it's The Shining.
It's on my
I do
list
not.
too.
I do
It's on
not. I
mine
tried
too.
not
Yeah.
to pick it, but I could have easily been like you guys and picked it. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
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 I like to hum sometimes, like the score, acting like I have a voice that sounds like it, but like da 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 da. Of
Yeah.
course, yeah, The Shining.
Um, yeah, this is like one of my favorite movies when I think of horror. I love Kubrick so much. Like I think this is my opinion, but like I think like he's definitely like the bar for like being a director. Like he's like as high as you can get. Like everything he made, I feel like was perfect. And this soundtrack by or the score by like Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkin, who also did Clockwork Orange.
Which you
It's
can
like
tell, yeah, I think.
yeah, dude. Clockwork Orange is like another great one. But it's like it's so like haunting. It's also kind of like an isolation movie, like but it's not like there's like you need like the slow moments like with music to carry the suspense. It's more like it's like almost like a haunting like Christmas theme at first. And then
Yeah.
like he
Yeah.
starts to go crazy and stuff, and he starts to chase him around. Like it really kicks in the like very like psycho like
hmm
influenced music where like Jack's
hmm
going crazy and like, oh my god, dude, like
hmm
I love this movie so much. And
hmm
I think the score is like definitely something that like really elevates it to like a high level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even I mean, this is also a bit of a soundtrack too. There's a score and a soundtrack because all the like old timey
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
true. It's
would it be
true. Yeah.
ragtime? I
With the
don't know what you would
bar,
call
like
that genre.
the bar song,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like the party,
hmm
like and those I find like those to be just as eerie and
hmm
unsettling too as like the
Yeah,
score because
yeah.
it's just something's so off and even when it's just like an empty room and he's at the bar and there's music just something so off about it and then too I always think of like the scene when he's in the bathroom uh talking to what is he talking to like the past caretaker or whatever and
Yeah.
that scene is just gets so creepy and like the music that's like going
Yeah.
on outside it's
Now there's always like shimmers going in the score
yeah
as like the vibe builds, and it just kind of intensifies and intensifies, and I feel like it has part of like I feel like Kubrick is always like trying to like hypnotize the audience in a way, like really sink it under your skin, and specifically this one, it's like sink the horror vibes under your skin, and like I think the score has a big plays a big part in that, because as you're just feeling this like these crazy shimmers coming at you and watching like this unsettled family and this isolated hotel and all these images.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dude, like I almost put Psycho for this,
hmm
but like it just because it's so influential and like
Yeah,
it's just stuck in my head. Like anytime anyone does an homage, like it's you
yeah,
just instantly understand it, you know? Um,
yeah,
but I I kind of like the way this builds on it a little more. I feel like it's a little more like complete and I kind of like yeah, it was really between the two, but I chose The Shining because I feel like I like all the music they incorporate with like the old timey stuff, but then
yeah,
like the build up and stuff, and
yeah,
just like a haunted Christmas movie is like kind of cool.
yeah
yeah.
yeah no it's a great pick and I was actually watching this video the other day that was showing like all the ways that Kubrick used like music to go along with like Jack Nicholson's like movements and
Mm,
like he would like he'd be like whipping his hands around or something, and then like the strings would just go like something crazy. And I
Yeah.
never really noticed that before, but there's a lot of like moments throughout where he's like he's doing something, there's someone's movements cause something, and like the strings will just go like crazy for a second to like match that.
Hmm,
Um, yeah, I thought that was kind of unique too. I never really noticed that too much watching it, but yeah.
that's cool. Where did you have yours, or do you want to not say?
I don't I don't remember. I'll have to find it. Maybe I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
There's another one that showed like how often Jack Nicholson would like look into the camera, and there's like I don't know if this is from like a documentary about the making, but he would like every now and then like glance into the camera, and it's like a really creepy thing, really creepy detail to like notice then.
But yeah, dude, like all the little effects in The Shining, like really add to the horror, and like definitely the score plays a big part. So that's why I put it at number four.
I'll go with my number four then is Beetlejuice. And
Is that a
yeah,
soundtrack or is it a
it
score? Is it both?
it's both. It's
It's a
mostly a
lot. It's a
score
lot
though.
of things. It's also a little musical in times, right?
Yeah, well, there is a Beetlejuice musical that's going on right now. That's pretty
Right. Yeah.
popular. I don't know if you guys know Lauren Boebert. She's like awful
Oh
congresswoman from
yeah,
Colorado.
yeah,
I
yeah.
Yeah, she
I remember that.
got kicked out of a theater for vaping and like singing along to all the songs.
no
She's
way.
just like, yeah, she's just like the worst person. Not
Yeah,
because of that, because of other crazy things. But yeah, anyway. That's why like Beetlejuice the music was in the news in Colorado at least recently. But yeah. Um but yeah, I don't know if you guys are Beetlejuice fans at all, but this was one that I loved growing up.
I didn't see it till like a couple years ago on a plane. When I was coming out to LA to look for apartments. But when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I see why this is like well beloved. Like this is pretty. I loved it. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. You know, and I don't really usually watch movies for the first time on a plane, but I definitely was like very satisfied that I picked that. You know.
that's funny. I watched Beetlejuice for the first time when I was traveling cross country to go to like move to Massachusetts. And so I was like in
Wow.
the
Oh,
car
okay.
for like 5 days. And I just like had these blockbuster movies that my parents, I guess, were like, yeah, we're never returning these. And we just took them in the car, and like Beetlejuice was one of them. And I remember watching it and just being like, what the fuck is this? But I love it. It's like it's so cool. It's so playful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't think of this, like you're really thinking out of the box, like chopping mall, Beetlejuice. I was like, damn, mine's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I've always loved this music for some reason too. I do like because this is Danny Elfman, for those who don't know. He did the
Mm.
score, and he also did the music for like Nightmare Before Christmas, which was also a movie that I liked growing up because of like the music in that too. And yeah, this is also Danny Elfman in this era. Like he had those movies and like Batman, who I know I loved the music from all of those movies growing up. And yeah, I just think there's a nice like playful like fun energy to the Beetlejuice score, and it's like it has the like just the right amount of like creepiness to be like a Halloween type soundtrack, but it's also just very zany and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because of the type of movie it is. Um, and yeah, it's just one of those immediately it's Danny Elfman when
Yeah.
you hear it too.
I
Um,
always forget what a god Danny Elfman is. And I usually remember like when I rewatch Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies every year. And then I'll like look up everything he did and I'm like, "Oh my god, yeah, this guy's one of the greats. How can I always forget him, you know?"
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think too, anytime I hear like a Danny Elfman score from somewhere, just if something's on TV that has it, then I'm like interested in watching whatever that is, or interested in watching like one of my favorite movies with one of his scores. So yeah, I've just always loved this type of music. I think when I think of like I don't know, like Halloween, like fun, like Halloween type music, it's like the Beetlejuice soundtrack. And yeah, and then it's also or I guess it's more of a score, but also a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because I think there might be a couple scenes where they use like they have like a needle drop maybe, but there's a great scene where they use the song Deo, like Deo,
Yeah.
daylight,
Yeah.
and
6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot punch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot punch. Daylight come and we want go home.
Yeah, it's like the whole family around the
Right.
dinner table, and they just Catherine O'Hara is just like so great in that scene, and
yeah,
I
Juliette
can't
Lewis,
think if there's
right.
Yeah,
Juliette
yeah.
Lewis.
I can't think of if there's other like songs that they incorporate in the movie. I think so, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
That's the big one
right
I
now.
remembered, because I remember like that's kind of, I think that's how they end it, sort of, and I remember being like just so happy at that moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So my number 4 is going to be, I know it's at least Angelo Badalamente's Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me score, but I think Twin Peaks is very much known for music. So if you're gonna pick a Twin Peaks thing, whether it's, there's all this Twin Peaks content out there, it's just about which one. And for instance, Twin Peaks: The Return has such a good soundtrack, like that I own on vinyl. It's like just so fantastic. Like, I don't know if you guys have both seen The Return. Yeah. Okay. So there's like, those final shows at the club that were at the end of every single one. Yeah. Like I have like a vinyl where it's just all of those. And
nice.
Those are great. Yes. The Twin Peaks is just so, it wouldn't exist without its attention to music. I feel.
Dude, like I sorry, car alarm was going off, so I muted myself. But like, yeah, I'm really excited you chose this because.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell. I was like, they not hear me now, or can I not hear them? What's going on?
Yeah, but no, like
I'm trying to talk to you.
Oh man.
But yeah, Twin Peaks, man, music. And then the original has like that very playful score that is always playing, that gives it that like, oh, this is an old like melodrama we're trying to make fun of or whatever. So I specifically chose Firewalk with Me, not only because I think not only is it probably like my favorite movie, if I had to pick out of the Twin Peaks stuff, I think I like Firewalk with Me the most, between that, The Return, and the original show. But I love the score. It's so dark. It's so versatile. And it's so memorable. And for instance, there's the opening theme, which just has this very memorable, like this like dark strings with like this very sad saxophone playing over it. And it's kind of just preluding to the tragedy you're about to watch exist. There's also like this great scene where Laura Palmer's at this bar and she's kind of like dancing with all these guys, kind of just rebelling in a way against her oppressive, home life. And there's just this, it's one of those David Lynch scenes where like the song, where the like it just goes on and on and on, and the song just keeps playing and playing, and it's so good. It's like one of my favorite. I think everyone who's seen Firewalk with Me knows this scene. I'll probably put this in the video. it's so David Lynch, you know, it's like the type of rock that David Lynch likes. And Laura Palmer's just like dancing with this degenerate guy at the bar. And on top of that, this music also had the score also has like a lot of the playfulness of the original movie, because there's a lot of that vibe that it brings to it. And so it kind of, it's not just one note, it's not just dark, and it tends to just serve whatever is needed. And to me, what is one of the scariest movies ever, if not the scariest. Uh, and we were talking about The Shining and others about how much the music is contributing to the horror, like sinking beneath your skin. And I feel like Firewalk with Me, like The Shining, very much sinks beneath your skin. And I once watched this alone late at night at my parents' house during the pandemic, and I regretted it because I like just felt so uneasy after it.
Yeah, that scene in the bar always sticks out to me.
Yeah,
I think it's just so long, or it's like that same sort of beat.
But you don't.
On.
But but you don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's
it's
so
like mesmerizing. Yeah.
It's so David Lynch. You know, that's that scene.
Yeah.
It's so David Lynch.
I owe like probably like half of my music taste to David Lynch, because he's just shown me like so many like cool new music. Like, I love Chromatics so much.
Yeah, that's like that's one of those things in that last. Well, I'm talking about the vinyl thing. I own Chromatics is one of the features on there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And I have a David Lynch thing on here too. So like, I definitely want to talk about just like how talented he is at just like his sound design, and like when you like incorporate like certain like notes to like really fucking creep you out, dude. Like, and he's like such a master at that. And like just like if his ambiance noise is just able to like kind of get under your skin, like that's really effective, and just shows like
nice. No, we'll talk more since you have a Lynch pick. I won't like go off that. I'll save it. We'll save it for your Lynch pick.
We can combine them right now, actually.
Because you're next. All right, let's combine them.
So my third pick is Mulholland Drive. And I know it's like kind of like a thriller mystery.
This is horror. It's fine.
Yeah, it's still scary as hell.
Yeah.
I watched it with a bunch of people, and they're all like, "Is this horror? Is this like?" This is getting really creepy. So like, I definitely am gonna put it on here. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's also, how do you pronounce his name? Angelo
Badalamenti. I don't know if I'm pronouncing. I'm trying to pronounce it.
I like that pronunciation. It sounded right.
That sounds right.
Milt Balner and Sonny Boy Williamson II. And so it's also like a score and soundtrack. This, when I think about like music and stuff in films, like this is one that I feel like really is core to like the story in a way. Because you guys have seen Mulholland Drive, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
There's that scene like halfway through where he's like, silencio, and like everything you see is a farce or whatever, and then she goes up and sings, and then she like falls over like that. This movie means so much to me, because like I'm like, oh shit, like there's more under the surface of just like watching a movie and stuff. And so I feel like the score and the music like means so much to me in this movie, and the way he incorporates it. Like, just I get chills when I think about like when they're in the bed together and she's like yelling silencio in her sleep, and like the way he like plays around with like the decimals or whatever of the like voice. It's like, oh God.
No, yeah, like what you're saying before about like sound design and ambiance, like you can tell he's very like has his headspace very much in that, because it's very controlled and very on point with what he is shooting, I feel. And even like I feel like, how like Twin Peaks has its like kind of ironic score, like, theme. The theme to Twin Peaks is kind of ironic. I feel like Mulholland Drive has that like ironic score playing whenever Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive is walking around
Yeah.
when she moves to Hollywood and expects
Yeah.
she's naive and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like all happy, upbeat. I remember like there's the beginning scene where it's like the very first scene's like people swing dancing,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like all like really happy and like yeah, just the juxtaposition of like how dark it gets. Like
yeah.
I don't know, like yeah, he's like really toying like a horror director would, like with subverting your expectations of like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually that was I think didn't we for our Cinebums Film
That
Festival
was
we did a double feature of
yeah, the
Mulholland
forgotten
Drive.
Cinebums
Yeah,
Festival. Well, you
2020.
thought you forgot it. Well, yeah. Well, we didn't.
Yeah.
We're bringing it back. Yeah.
We did a double feature of Mulholland Drive and Ace Ventura, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
which
That's a
one?
wild double feature.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
That was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. And Mulholland Drive was very dark, and I think we were very spooked at the end of it for sure.
My number 3 is Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, I think just one of my favorite horror movies ever. And yeah, this is one of the soundtracks that I would not listen to while doing the dishes or just for fun.
All
That
right,
was
because it's not actually fun, huh?
Yeah, because this one is actually it really creeps me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of time when we do like a scores and soundtracks episode, it's all stuff we would like probably listen to, but the horror version is different, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that like haunting like lullaby in the beginning.
Yeah.
Going over New York City.
Mhm.
And just a lot of that eeriness throughout like the movie with like the score going on, and it's like clearly like a nursery rhyme, I think.
Yeah,
Just that this
definitely.
woman is just like la la, like singing la la over, and yeah, it really sets the tone for this. I don't know, Rosemary's Baby is one of those that it's just so creepy and unsettling going through it, but there's not like a big a big scare moment until much later in the movie. I think that lullaby, and then there's other parts there's other scores throughout that it's like this just weird off kilter like free jazz going on,
Yeah.
that like a saxophone just kind of going crazy for 10 seconds, and yeah, it all just sort of fits perfectly this the mood around this building, and yeah, and I think yeah, it just really sticks out to you. That I think it's just so smart to use like that sort of like, because like with church music can be like creepy, so can like children's music and like
Yeah.
nursery rhymes and stuff when you use them in a certain way. So
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby is definitely always just regarded as one of the greatest horror movies. So it makes sense for this to be on here. And I think the way it's bookended, specifically with the music, is always my favorite thing
yeah.
about the movie, too.
I haven't seen this in a while. Do you feel like it's so I can't picture the score right now. But do you like? Would you say that the score kind of is toying with the fact that it's like a nursery rhyme, or is it like kind of like that it's supposed to be creepy, or is it like just like if it were out of context, would you just be like, oh, this is just a nursery rhyme?
I think
Yeah,
it's supposed to be creepy.
that's a good point. I do think it does kind of sound like a regular nursery rhyme, but there is something about it that is really creepy too. And I think maybe it's yeah. I think there's something else. There's the music sort of underneath the woman going like la 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 whatever. I think that is definitely much more creepy than just a regular old nursery rhyme would be. So yeah, I feel like it's sort of just like melding the two, like this sort of creepy, haunting music with you know, childish little tune too. So yeah, but yeah, that's a good thought though.
Rattling off some classics, guys. Rattling off some classics. That was like your first classic, John. I thought maybe the first two were like a little.
And
Beetlejuice
Chopping
is a
Mall.
classic. What am I talking about? You've had one
Yeah.
non-classic.
Shopping Mall's a fucking classic, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you
right.
guys
So
see it, you'll know.
He hasn't
Yeah.
had any classics then. I mean, he's had only classics. All right. My number 3 is also a classic, but a recent classic from last year. It is the score of and soundtrack of Jordan Peele's Nope by Michael Abels.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice pick.
Thank you. There's, I think I was also, like I said, with a thing, trying to be more outside the box, think differently. Not just pick Halloween Shining, Halloween Shining, Halloween Shining for every single. I started to think more about like these recent, because everyone remembers like Jordan Peele's movies, maybe more for like the concept, his writing, the actors that are in them, the humor, how memorable they are, and how fun they are, and also scary. But I feel like maybe the music then is doesn't get as much shine, maybe outside of like the obvious like Redbone and Get Out and like whatever song it is in Us that it was very big. But Nope, which is very Spielberg influenced, I feel like the score takes a lot of inspiration from that, from being like, we are going to be like an old blockbuster that Jordan Peele is clearly so into trying to make right now. And a lot of this is a mystery. A lot of this is figuring out what's going on, like about and a brother sister relationship. And I feel like the score kind of takes you through that. Like I could compare it to say in Jaws, like when they're on the boat and they're like, where's the shark? They're like, just where's the shark? That's kind of similar to this. They're like looking in the sky. Where is this thing, this unknown thing? In Jaws, there's like the like, this has its own version of that, as they're like looking for this thing in the sky or trying to track it, or and all that stuff. And on top of that, like, it also, like, for instance, there's that really scary scene where they're in the arena in the old Western town and that the thing sucks all those people up. I re-listened to the track for that moment today, and that it gives you the chills. It reminds me of that moment, and that is one of the scariest scenes, I feel like, in recent memory. And on top of that, it's also a soundtrack. So there's like Jordan Peele brings back a lot of like old soul, like soul songs. One that is sampled to death in hip hop, but that is a good thing usually with soul music. And so these songs just kind of like, I don't know, are kind of like, you could tell close to Jordan Peele's soul a lot, and it's why he always adds them in his movie, or maybe have some deeper meaning in them that he wants to give to the movie. Which I feel like Nope, you don't, especially on first watch, you don't know what the hell's going on, and that's what's so intriguing. And so music and certain hidden messages is a big factor.
Yeah, John and I were talking before the podcast started about how much we love this movie, and I'm so glad you put it on here because like it wasn't even an aspect that I thought I loved about this movie, but hearing you talk about it, hearing you break it down for me, like really makes me have an even more appreciation for the music in it, and like the whole movie as like the movie as a whole, like really. Man, so slept on, dude. Like I feel like people just are like, yeah, it was good, and then like, but I'm like, no, this is a great movie. Like every aspect of this movie is pulled off to perfection, and oh my God, I'm glad you picked
Slaps
that.
hard. Yeah, Nope slaps hard.
Yeah.
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 And I don't remember the music in it. You know, that's I think the biggest thing is like I wasn't like walking out wanting to re-listen to this. Same goes with The Thing. Like I said before, you're not really trying to re-listen to it, but you remember in your head how great that movie is, you know.
Mhm. It did its job, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah, is it works at the very least, even though maybe it doesn't stand out like say as much as say Psycho is such a, you know, that theme is so iconic, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll have to give the Nope soundtrack another listen. I can't like recall it all that well right now, but yeah, it's also the soundtrack is probably also slept on like the movie is, which I remember Us had a good, I thought had a good score too.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was thinking about picking that one
soundtrack,
too as
yeah.
well. Yeah. They all kind of do.
Yeah, he's very like music focused, which I like. Like I remember, yeah, like putting like Redbone and Get Out. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is cool that like this song just came out and it's already in the movie. My number two is Beyond the Black Rainbow. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I
No?
It's
have not.
Panos Cosmatos. Did Mandy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mandy.
So this was his movie before Mandy, and
Oh, okay.
the soundtrack's by Jeremy Schmidt, or the score, and it's very like here. I love like synth, like Tangerine Dream, like
Yeah,
Flame
definitely.
Freaking Sorcerer, or like Thief, and like
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
very inspired by Tangerine Dream, and it's like very
All
like
right.
heavy, and the story's about this like girl who has superpowers in this kind of like cult lab underground, but like the reason she has superpowers is because she was like exposed to so much acid, like I taking acid and shit. And it's like really it's just like this crazy, like trippy, gross movie that just like is totally amplified by the music, and it's just like gets like heavier and heavier, and like I just love
Yeah.
how like, trippy it just feels to like watch this movie and hear the music.
Yeah, I'm so with you. I love that synthy Tangerine Dream vibe as like everyone else does.
Mhm.
Any influence that is repeated from that, I don't care if it sounds like that. I'm fine with it, you know, like give me more, everyone. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just covered Heat, you know, that's Tangerine Dream right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
Jack, do you have a favorite Tangerine Dream score or soundtrack? I guess we've talked about Tangerine Dream a lot on these episodes, I think.
oh really? I so like I just watched Sorcerer for
Yeah,
the
I was all right. So that's the most recent one I watched too. And yeah, Tangerine Dream is good in
oh,
that one. Yeah,
oh my God, dude. Like I
yeah,
said about Freakin' earlier in this podcast, like, dude, he slapped. And that movie's so slept on.
yeah. It's the most unreal movie, and I feel like there's something so crazy and based in realism about it, and yet it has this synthy like dope fucking score. Yeah, I saw it for the first time after he died, because Jake showed it to me after he died, and I it had been too long, that I hadn't seen Sorcerer, and yeah, damn, there's really nothing like Sorcerer.
Yeah. So I'd probably pick that, but then I also love like Thief a lot. I love Thief a lot. I haven't seen like I know they did music for like or the soundtrack for like The Keep with Catherine Bigelow, which
Mm.
I haven't seen, but I gotta check that out. And yeah, like I don't know, it's just that like the juxtaposition of like what you're watching versus like the music that's just like so out of this world, you know what I mean? Like it's not like based in like little strings or something like that. Like I don't know, it's just
Yeah.
I love that, like watching something with like that in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll get to this more later, but um, this is a chance for me to bring up like some other nerdum I have other than like movies and comedy or whatever. John and I always talk about this, but like I actually am like kind of like a synth nerd in a way for like someone who doesn't own any, because how could I ever afford one? But like I think I love just like sound and kind of what you're saying, which is like since the have the ability to create these otherworldly sounds and feelings that um, are, especially like you're saying in these movies, very attractive. And I think movies and Tangerine Dream and others stuff that we'll mention eventually, like it makes everyone else like a synth nerd as well, because it creates just such a distinct vibe and sound that is like really addicting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, this movie Beyond the Black Rainbow, you guys should check it out. It's a pretty quick watch. It's like kind of really like unsettling at times, but for the most part, it's not like the scariest movie. Um, but yeah, I think like out of all the movies I've seen, like with what you're talking about with synth and how it kind of like changes like your perception of that a little bit, I feel like this is the most aligned with like, okay,
Mm.
I expect synth to be in this movie. Like it's just so like weird.
I liked Mandy. I don't know. Did you guys like Mandy when it came out? I feel like that was kind of like a polarizing one.
I was mixed on
Mixed.
Mandy.
Yeah.
I like Mandy a lot. I didn't know what I was getting into, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me neither.
But once it gets to the end, I'm like, dude, oh my God. I've been on such like a Nicolas Cage resurgence recently where like I will fuck if I find out Nick Cage is in a movie, I'll be like, okay, I'm picking this. So I'm watching this tonight or whatever. Like, I don't know. I have like such like a reverence for his like acting now. I don't know what it is, but like Mandy definitely kind of like opened my eyes to that a little bit. So I like that a lot.
Speaking of Nick Cage, have you guys seen the trailer for that new Nick
I Did.
movie?
Yeah.
I did.
Can't
It looks
remember
good.
what it's called, but yeah, it
Me
looked
neither.
really good.
Or what it's about, but it looks good.
Yeah.
But also, I started Rainfield last night, guys, and I'll say that one is
Oh,
a more sleeper Nick Cage movie.
uh,
The concepts kind of, you wish it was better, but I fell asleep during it.
yeah. It's a shame. All right, my number two is, I think I'm pronouncing this right. It's Tenebrae.
Oh,
Tenebrae.
nice.
Mhm.
Tenebrae. The Dario Argento Giallo film from the 80s. And speaking of synths, this has a great synth score. This one is, yeah, now this one I would wash my dishes to. This one
Yeah,
is
yeah,
just
yeah. All the
kind of
Giallo ones you can
yeah.
definitely vibe to outside of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like banger after banger of these like power like synth 80s ballads. And I actually didn't realize this until I was like trying to look more up about it, but Argento used this Italian band Goblin a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and for this movie, I guess Goblin had broken up, but he got a few of the members together to still do a soundtrack for it because this is kind of him like a return to form in a way almost. So yeah, and this one, the title track, the very first song on the soundtrack called Tenebrae is just it's so good. It's just like
I
you
want
can
to
put
listen
it
to
on
that
repeat. It's yeah.
now.
Like I just feel like I just want to like drive around and like listen to this. Yeah, and it has like it's like this futuristic like 80s synth heavy score, but then it
Yeah.
also has like a church organ that just comes in too. And yeah, it's you know a lot like other Argento uh soundtracks, but yeah, this one sticks out to me, and I think this might be my favorite Argento movie too, which I don't know if that's crazy because it's not one of his like earlier ones. This soundtrack has always stuck out to me. So
I love like how Giallo's just like they're totally welcoming of like music and crazy scores and stuff like that. And like
yeah,
just as
Yeah.
crazy as like the plot is, like the score can get even crazier, you know?
yeah.
It totally adds to the whole murder mystery. Damn, I can't remember. It kind of all blends together for me. Honestly, when I watch a Giallo, like which one was with the guy who like killed his wife? Who did that
Yeah,
one?
because they're all like the plot is so like there's such a formula to it, and then they just add a shit ton of style. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know if I've seen it, but I have to watch it. I have to watch it for sure now.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it is maybe one of his only like it has to do with like Americans in it. I think it's still
Mm,
set in Rome, but it has like American characters in it. So it's not as, you know, I think maybe that's why it stuck out to me more because it's maybe a little bit more accessible than some of his even I don't think it's as weird as some of his other ones. But yeah, it's about like an author of this like murder mystery book, and then someone starts committing murders like of people related to this book, and it all kind of ties together.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I've seen it. I think I sounds familiar.
yeah, and I think yeah, for me, I don't know if it's because it's like a more recent one too, but it this is the one I'm drawn to most. But yeah, and I'm sure if I listen to like the other some of his other scores, it probably sounds pretty similar. But um yeah, especially that first track, I remember like
it's an
trying to
easy one
come
to
up with my
reference because I
list.
know I can find that one easily because you're just saying it's the
Yeah,
title theme and the first track, so I can listen to that during my dishes
yeah,
right
right,
after.
yeah, yeah, it's a great
Uh,
dishes song. Yeah.
yeah, and I'll bridge this real quick because you know that mine is related. Mine's Suspiria for number two. I just feel like all these like scores are very similar, and you could like just put them as albums to the same style. The Suspiria theme is also like very addicting, like one you could just put on while you drive. I feel like what you're saying, and is mainly, I feel like this movie is also just so beloved, partly because this music is so good, and also like I'll put like my like music production nerd hat on again. I just feel like this style and these scores are just so influential to modern rap music production. Not saying that people nowadays who make modern rap beats they're like, oh, I heard, Tenebrae, and I made this track for, Future or something like that, or Kanye. No, I just think it's like two different genres doing the same thing, but just for different, like the star is different, for different canvases, like making very similar melodies, using the exact same sounds, having the same progressions, but are just for different things. I just can't help but like think that, like, as I hear these, like the haunting Suspiria bells and how playful they are and just how it progresses and the bounciness, and then all of a sudden like a lead comes in and plays over these bells, and I found that with like when I've watched other giallos, I'm like, I was just like, oh man, this could totally be like sampled into like a rap song from 2017 or something. It just sounds like Metro Boomin to me.
Nice. Suspiria is a great pick. Yeah.
That's actually my number one pick.
3 of these.
Look at that bridge.
Yeah. I actually, so yours is Suspiria, Dario Argento's Suspiria?
Yeah. Is yours Tom York's?
Yeah, I like Tom York.
I was thinking about doing that too.
I like that we have both of them. That's good. Yeah.
I think it's really good. Like, I'm not like a big Radiohead fan. Like, I don't know a lot about him, but I love the remake, and I love like exactly what you're saying. Like, I feel like it's so playful. Like, my favorite, like, I listen to his soundtrack like when I'm driving too. Like, just like this one called like The Hook or whatever. And just the, like you're saying with Suspiria, like the juxtaposition of like, oh, these little playful bells, and like, there's actually like this haunting, menacing, like no undertone to it, and I think it really comes through in the music. And
I feel like the modern Suspiria is like tries to have more of a narrative, actually. So I feel like it gives Tom York more of a like the need for a traditional score, but still his own thing. And I think he couldn't have been more perfect for scoring that film, which is trying to like stand on its own.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, like, but I mean, Goblin, like they're fucking crazy, dude. It's crazy how good they are. Like, all
they are pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I would see a show with Goblin for sure. I think a lot of people.
Oh, that would be fun.
A lot of cinephiles specifically would.
Hell yeah, dude. Obviously, the second movie stands on like what the first movie built, So it's like really, it's really kind of paved the way for. But I like how it kind of like just adds a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
a little more modern too. But yeah, that's my number one pick.
This will be pretty quick on my end because my number one is The Shining. So feel like when we talked about it earlier, I covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. But yeah, I just think this is I've also been watching The Shining like multiple times over the past few months. It's just been like on YouTube TV, and I just go to it. Yeah, just pop it on. And yeah, it's the music just stays with you, and it's a movie I could watch over and over again, I think too. So yeah, it's perfect for this time of the year. Yeah.
Nice.
And being in Colorado, been to the Stanley Hotel a few times. Yeah. I like
be a better location to watch The Shining.
Yeah. Actually, the first time that I saw The Shining, I've said this on the podcast many times before, but it was at Red Rocks.
Oh, really? That was your first viewing of The Shining? Was at the Red Rocks?
At Red Rocks in 2015 in college. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's something they do regularly, I'm sure, right? Like every
summer they have film on the rocks where they show. movies. Lately, it's been a lot of like Marvel stuff, and I think that's because
Oh, that's such a shame.
they just want to get the crowd.
Yeah.
But back when I was in college and out here, that they would do more, like they would do The Shining, like Colorado, like kind of specific ones too. But yeah, they showed The Simpsons, The Shining before,
Wow.
which was awesome, and then The Shining after, and yeah,
Nice.
that was definitely like the ideal like first viewing of The Shining. So yeah,
Nice. That's awesome, dude.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, now you watch it on TV all the time, and it probably just feels so small in comparison to that
Yeah,
first viewing.
week. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's my number one.
Nice. I like what you said earlier about like the I don't want to get repetitive, but like the little details that you get every time. So like totally I'm gonna look out for those now. I'm like it's totally a rewatchable movie where it's like still
yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
left unsaid,
Every Kubrick is in a way, but like this, I think this one is like this one, and maybe I don't know. This is one of the ones that are maybe more rewatchable. I feel like that aren't as disturbing or as long or something like that. There's something about The Shining that has an accessibility over the
Mhm.
others, maybe that make it easier to rewatch all the time.
Have you seen Doctor Sleep? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I
I
have. I don't
haven't
remember
I
anything
haven't
from
seen
it.
it.
I don't remember anything. I think I liked it when it came out. It's definitely very fan fictiony and uh very Stephen King, like in I don't know, Stephen King like is good and stuff, but like when it's like connected to say The Shining, which is like The Shining is like made in a very anti Stephen King fashion, it's like to have a follow up to that is more like Stephen King is just like it's like kind of like damn, but it's not like I would expect Stanley Kubrick to make Doctor Sleep or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. But plus didn't like Stephen King make his own The Shining?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
like laughably. If you ever see scenes from it, it's laughably terrible. It's like TV movie level. It's just so awful.
Mhm. That's why it's like the Shining itself. It's like Kubrick's such a visionary for what he's able to pull off.
Yeah,
You know, he can see the picture of like what he wants, and he's able to achieve
yeah.
that. But
Apparently, he thought like the book sucked, which is kind of hilarious because like he's adapted.
apparently, Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind, who did like the score, they were really close to like suing him because he like was like
Yeah.
fucking with their stuff or whatever, like not using a lot of things. They would make scores for him that would like never show up or something like that. So I don't know. I think it was like after Clockwork Orange or after The Shining, one of them said like I'm never gonna work with this guy again. Which direct
Yeah, there's a lot of those stories of like him making people like that, yeah, like go insane. I'm never working with him again. He made me do
yeah,
this many takes or whatever. He was,
yeah,
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 he's fucking crazy.
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like there's some like negative stuff about like Shelley Duvall and how like she just
Yeah,
like was like traumatized from like
Yeah,
this experience. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't
This
know.
is this is a woman who worked with Robert Altman, and she says that Kubrick drives her crazy.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
My number one is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, scored by John Carpenter.
Is this the one that they wrote off? Like they like rewrote the ending of this, or is this?
All right, John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. I don't know anything about that. But I also don't know anything really about this movie. So like, don't ask me.
Is this
Um,
the is this the like season of the witch one? Is that it?
yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
this is
Okay.
one that like that Michael Myers isn't even in this movie.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the Halloween sequel with no Michael Myers, and it's actually like I watched this with like friends in college, and it's like one of those things where you watch where you're with friends in college, just sitting around, you're like smoking weed, and you're watching you're like, I'm watching Halloween 3 and you're not seeing Michael Myers, and it's just like, it's just driving you crazy that you're not seeing Michael Myers for the most of it. You're like, what is this movie? What is
When's he
Halloween
gonna show up? Yeah.
yeah. And I think what's very frustrating about it is that, like, the rest of the movie feels like a Halloween movie, but just the villain is not Michael Myers. It's and I think this movie is more. See, I told you I don't know anything.
Is this
This
the one
movie's
with
more,
like the masks?
yeah, like people I think are more going insane
They
themselves.
put the masks on and go crazy or something like
I
that?
think so. Yeah.
I remember liking this one.
Yeah, no, like it's actually good is the thing. Here. Kids all over America want silver shamrock masks for Halloween. Dr. Daniel Shallis seeks to uncover a plot by silver shamrock owner Conal Cochran. Those are such specific names for this film. But anyways, I think one of the main reasons why I enjoyed Halloween 3 so much when I saw it is the score is a banger. It is John Carpenter just going full on with his, like, all his synths that he's using. It's so great, and it's so Carpenter and playful and fun, and it sounds like a Halloween movie, for sure. It has that going for it. And you can re-listen to this. It's so fun. I was listening to this before this. It's a great time, and I have to think that is the main reason that I liked Halloween 3. Is Carpenter's score is just so good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna watch that this Halloween.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I can't remember the score as like distinctly as the original Halloween.
It's just, I mean, just picture any Carpenter score, like They Live, or like stuff that he did later on after Halloween, because he's using more, like, it sounds like the 80s, that sort of thing. A lot of 80s arpeggios, and they're kind of goofy, because they're goofy but good, because Carpenter's not classically trained, but obviously he has a great feel for music.
Yeah.
And I could have picked Halloween easily for like this whole list, because Halloween's score is so fantastic, and I think is very so effective in its simplicity, but really, if just how it makes you so scared in this fake suburban town. But I don't know. I thought this was just more different, and I like all the synths in it, and all the things he's doing there. Yeah, and has a lot of variety too. Has a lot more variety, when I feel like Halloween score throughout sounds more like the same, or maybe They Live. I think also sounds very similar, like like the same things playing over and over again. I think like Halloween 3 actually has like a catalog of very different like songs in it.
Yeah, I feel like you can't go wrong with John Carpenter synth score, and I actually like. I like hearing him talk about the music that he does for the movies, how he's like very open, like he doesn't have any like musical knowledge or like music theory knowledge at all, but he just knows what like sounds good, and he knows like what sound he wants, and he's just like able to do it. Yeah, I just think I think it's cool when like a director just kind of takes the reins over like something like that too, because they just know so well like what they want for the movie. So yeah,
he's scrappy as hell, like he
yeah,
he wants to make a movie, and he's gonna make it. I think that's so cool. I respect that so much that it's just like he's very open about like I don't I'm not classically trained at this, but like he knows what he wants. He has the vision. It's cool. It's cool that you have like a bookend too. Like you have the thing and then you have Halloween 3. It's kind of like the full little.
Didn't plan it out that way. I could have easily had, them not bookended, but it ended up like that. Yeah.
Oh, you know that Halloween house is over in Pasadena here near
Yeah,
me?
I went once with my brother and my cousin, and yeah, it doesn't really seem like it because Pasadena's built up so much around it, but I could see it. It does look like it, but maybe the neighborhood around is just like, how is this it?
There's a coffee shop next to it. Like I go
Yeah,
there.
and there's like a train station and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So weird.
It's really weird. Wait, so you go to a coffee shop right next to it pretty much
Yeah, I
usually?
do. Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't know it was the Halloween house, so someone was like, "Hey, that's the Halloween house," and I was like, "Which Halloween? What are you talking about?"
The Myers house. That's pretty mind blowing. Yeah, that's pretty mind blowing. No, like I actually like we suck. I was that's not the right grammar. Went to go seek it out.
We suck it out.
Yeah. Exactly. We suck it out of the ground. I drink your milkshake.
It's funny. I like watching Halloween and like because it's set in Illinois, obviously, and I
Yeah.
love trying to just like pick apart the clearly obvious like California aspects of this town that's supposed to be set in Illinois,
Yeah.
like the palm trees in the background or the outdoor school, and clearly like the trees are all like green, but then there's like dead leaves on the ground somehow.
Yeah,
still.
yeah. It's very green, but yeah, there's definitely dead leaves just poured around on.
Yeah, wow. Well, that's our list.
Yeah, that's our scores and
We
soundtracks
did
for
it.
this spooky season. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jack. A lot of fun, man, and yeah, you're a great guy and a great movie lover.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, you guys. I'm proud of us. I think we all have really good lists that all kind of complement one another. And yeah, like definitely, yeah, thanks for making me think about music a little differently. I'm gonna go watch some of these movies now. I think Chopping Mall first, then
Of course.
Halloween 3. Gotta see that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you feel free to come on anytime for other subjects. We have unlimited unlimited things we could do always. So yeah, definitely come back.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you.